So we got part two of this question.
Part two.
Because while you've made strong arguments against Kaepernick, the player, I feel like you've made your strongest arguments against Kaepernick, the social justice warrior. Not that he's a bad person, but you've questioned his motives in the past. So I'd like you to argue against yourself and make the case that Colin Kaepernick has been a decidedly positive force for good in the world.
Okay, I'm just going to give a tiny bit of context.
Sure.
You people know I have a book out, Gloves Off, 40 Years of Unfiltered Sports Writing. And chapter 6 is all about Kaepernick, and it's very critical. And I do question his motives at the time he took a knee. Okay, I'm going to argue against myself now. When I questioned his motives, it was hypothetical. I had never talked to him about his motives. I mean, I don't really know him very well. I don't think anyone in the media knows him very well, Iggy.
No, they don't.
So it was, and I indicate in the book, I have a disclaimer and say, look, this is what I think, please take it with a grain of salt. It's possible that when let's call him a social justice warrior, I like your phrase, when he took a knee and began to talk about things that were troubling him, that he had grown up. I had seen him initially as quite a young man, not fully formed. It's possible that he had read a lot, talked a lot to people who were in the know, and that he was sincerely invested in the things he was saying. In addition, and this could be even more important, he really galvanized, focused the displeasure, rage of America on what was happening to people of color. That's a good thing.
It is.
When he took a knee, he was very respectful. He was quiet. And the other NFL players and other athletes in other sports who did it always have been respectful. And it clearly means a lot to them to do it because they feel disadvantaged. And I would say, in many cases, rightfully so. And they were able to express that because of Colin Kaepernick.
Is it fair to say that he galvanized people maybe more effectively than anyone since the 60s?
Yes.
Yeah, he really did.
Yeah, he really did. He really did. He had a good effect. And then when this thing happened, or these police shootings of black men recently, it was as if he had foresight. He was prescient. And so again, when this happened, it was not only a national outrage, but then people could mention Colin Kaepernick again as a rallying cry, as a rallying call. So in those regards, I give him all the credit. I do. And I understand things. I'm trying to understand things from his point of view and from people who support him in his point of view. And I want to add something that this. When I was at the Chronicle, I worked with Ron Thomas. He covered the Warriors, and he was the only black guy on our staff. And it's interesting, often in those days, the only black guy covered the NBA. Ron lives in Atlanta now. He teaches journalism at Morehouse College, and he and I are dear. As you know, we are dear friends.
Yep.
And he loved my book, but he was very unhappy about the chapter on Kaepernick. And at 3 o'clock today, so it's 11:30 now on Tuesday. When, as I say, it's been 3 o'clock today. He's calling me, and we're going to discuss the chapter on Kaepernick. And I admit I'm a little nervous because I don't want him to be angry at me. But I really, really need to hear what he says, and I need to be open-minded and learn.
Well, the crux of your argument and chapter in the book, which I agree with, is that at the time that Colin Kaepernick had an awakening, was it really about the issue, or was it about the fact that he had lost the fame that he had acquired? He was one of the most famous people in the world, and then he went to being a backup. That was the assumption. But what I want to ask you is, even if we're right about that deep down, this was a shallow, narcissistic thing at the beginning, isn't it possible that he still had an overwhelmingly positive effect on the country, no matter what his initial motivation was?
Absolutely. I love how you said it. You must have been an English major at UCLA. Yes, absolutely. I think he's had an overwhelmingly positive effect, and he's been able to define for people what's going on. So, and I would say it's possible and even likely that he's grown into his point of view. That whatever his motivation was at the beginning, which I was and still am skeptical of, that people aren't one thing.
Yes.
That he's grown into the positions that he took, and that he is a now fully formed, serious adult with gravitas, and that if you and I were to spend time with him, we might like him and admire him.
Sure. And I want to clarify for our listeners and viewers, we never disagreed with his points, except for the stuff he said about Cuba. But we never disagreed with what he was saying. The points we made in 2016 was that his movement was out of place in an NFL locker room, and it was divisive, and it wasn't going to help the 49ers win. That was a small point way in the past. We never said he's wrong about police or he's wrong about the nature of America. So I just wanted to say that.
Right. We endorsed his message.
Yes.
Always.
Yes.
We didn't endorse the messenger.
Yes, and the forum.
And the forum.